Inspiring and informative, the Design Your Success podcast, a production of Naga Digital. This is the show that leaves you motivated and ready to take action, so you can design the life and business success you desire. And now, here is your host, Nancy Gathesha.
I'm your host, Nancy Gadesha, and welcome to another episode. It's a great day to follow your dreams and to take your life to the next level. And today we have a lovely lady. We have Nicole Baldinu from bizrepublic.net. And Nicole is going to share with us her wisdom about partnering with, being in business with your partner and a lot of other cool stuff about webinars and setting up an online community. So without much further ado, Nicole Baldinu, thank you so much for coming on the call. You're welcome.
Oh, Nancy, thank you so much. And I'm so impressed you pronounced my last name correctly. It's a tough one.
Thank you. What time is it in your neck of the woods?
Well, right now I'm back home actually in Sydney, Australia, and it's 8:35 in the morning.
Okay.
What about you?
It's 10:35 in Germany.
Oh, in the evening, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. But it's just really interesting that we can be, communicating from the other side of the. I was about to say the other side of the universe. Well, it's not another planet, but it's.
It does feel like it sometimes. I can tell you, it does feel like Australia's the other end of the world.
Okay, all right. Well, welcome to the show. So glad you could make the time. I'm probably your first call today.
Yes, definitely. I'm giving myself away there, but yeah.
Okay, brilliant, great. Nicole, tell us a little bit about Biz Republic.
So Business Republic is our umbrella company that was started by fiance, my business partner, Omar Zenhome, soon to be husband, as we're getting married in about 5 weeks. That's exciting. Yeah, I know, it's exciting. So Business Republic is our umbrella company, but what we're mostly known for is the $100 MBA, which is an online business training and community. But we also have a podcast under the same name, the $100 MBA Show, where I produce the show and Omar is the host. And under that, we also falls under our tech company, WebinarNinja, which is a webinar software and community as well. So we do a few things under Business Republic.
Great. I'm actually part of your community in the 100 MBA. That's, I believe, how we got to know each other when you launched your podcast. And I'm a raving fan of the show. Now, when I was doing some prep work, there's a lot of places where Omar is mentioned, but I happen to know that you are actually the editor or the producer of the show.
Yes.
How is that? How is it when you guys do like a show every single day?
Yeah, so the $100 MBA show is 10-minute daily business lessons. And, obviously it's a short format show, but what goes in the show in terms of the pre-production is obviously a lot more than just 10 minutes. So Omar will record anywhere between, it's kind of not scripted because he's delivering a lesson. He could record an episode that could be anywhere between 18, 25 minutes, and then that's edited down to 10 minutes. Very recently, about 3 months ago, I gave over the editing job to my full-time editor, which was an interesting situation. Like, I really, after editing, almost 400 episodes, it was something like, can I really do this? Can I give this over to somebody else? I know it sounds crazy because, oftentimes we think, oh, no one can do it, the way, no one's going to care as much as we do about, our project. But oftentimes what ends up happening is that someone can do it better than you. So that, by giving over the task of editing, which would take at least 6 to 8 hours a day to just do 3 to 4 episodes. It's a lot of time, and I wasn't able to obviously focus on other areas of the business. So giving that over has been a huge, not like it's a relief or anything like that, but it's allowed me to certainly focus on other areas. So now I just, basically quality check and produce the show. Just when my editor gives me back the file, I make sure that it sounds, like I would have edited it, basically.
Oh, wow. I totally identify with that, Nicole. The editing bit of the podcast. That's the one I least look forward to. People listen to maybe 10 minutes, but like you said, before the show, there's a lot of work that goes into it, and then after the post-production. And you guys also have the Webinar Ninja podcast as well. Is that right?
That's true. We have one season of that. So there's 12 episodes that are there that we released, and, that did really well. The season 2's on hold right now as we're focusing on other areas in Webinar Ninja. As you know, the platform is growing, the community is growing, so there are huge demands there. But that was a very different style show. So I was still editing all those episodes, and that's more of a documentary style, very different to the $100 MBA, which is very straightforward, 10-minute direct lessons on a topic, as you know.
Right. And I believe you're also the one in charge of the beautiful videos on the 100 MBA community in the course, which for me is one of the best investments I've ever made, by the way. Congratulations to you too.
Thank you, Nancy. No, and you're such an amazing member. We love having you. Thank you so much. That means a lot. So, I mean, that's where kind of the audio editing came in, because I did start with the video editing. So I was behind the scenes there in terms of, shooting the videos for the $100 MBA and then editing and putting those up for our members. So that's kind of how I just kind of found my role with Omar in the post-production, which is really what I enjoy. I mean, he's amazing as a host. He's great on camera. Some people are just very naturally gifted that way. And so it's great to have that balance where he can be either on camera or on the mic, and then I get to do what I really enjoy, which is the behind the scenes, post-production.
Interesting. Actually, the main reason why I wanted to have you on the show is so we can discuss your wedding and the wedding dress. So everything else was just a front to leading up to how you guys complement each other. I mean, you're really like a dream team. You work together. How did you guys actually get to start working together, building this great community?
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. You're very, very, very sweet. So it's an interesting story, I guess, how we started. We actually used to work together. I don't know if you know that both Omar and I actually came from education. So our background is in teaching and higher education. So we met there, but I decided to quit teaching. I decided to move to New York and completely change my career, and I was really fascinated by film. So I moved to New York to study film at the New York Film Academy. And, coincidentally, Omar is from New York. He also quit at the same time because we were both working in Dubai at the time. So I was finishing up my time at New York Film Academy. I started to take up freelancing work, and at the time Omar had already started Business Republic. It was a blog. He was freelance work. He was consulting on and doing website design, logo design, and all that. And so when I started picking up freelance work, I would ask him to help me out, especially when it came to negotiating with clients. I mean, it was the first time that I had to ask for set a rate, up my prices when the work was more demanding. And that was really uncomfortable for me at first, because I did come from a very traditional, education background. And so this was a very new world for me. And obviously Omar had 10 years of experience side hustling and building businesses. So I looked to him to help me. Plus he was also very handy in carrying heavy equipment. So that was convenient as well.
Right.
He loved
and he
it.
happened to look good too.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just like a perfect, okay, you come along on this gig. So what happened was he was helping me out, and while he was building Business Republic, he would ask for my opinion. And I guess the first thing I do notice is aesthetic. So when he's building a website, I'm looking at it, I'm going, you know what, I would change colors, I would change fonts, and maybe that's not, the real meat and potatoes, but it was something that I felt could be improved, and it was something that I guess he didn't see initially. So while he had all the technical skills, the business savvy, I just said, look, I hate that color, change that color. So in that way, like little things like that, I mean, that's just a very simple example, but little things like that, we started to realize, oh, he's helping me out, I'm helping him out. And it was a very kind of organic collaboration. So when he approached me and said, I want to do this thing called the $100 MBA. This is my idea for it. And it was just a natural, that sounds amazing. I would love to shoot the videos. I would love to help you build it. And we just gave up all our freelancing work, all our consulting work, and just went to town with the $100 MBA, just started a very serious and heavy production schedule. And we launched in December of 2013 with 8 core courses, which had, each had like 12, 15 videos in there. So there were about 100 videos at the time.
And then 2014, you did the podcast.
Right. So in August of 2014, I mean, we had a failed podcast before that, and I use the word failed very loosely, but we had a podcast that was part of the $100 MBA. but it just wasn't getting the results that we wanted. So again, we just really took a step back and said, what's not working? Because we believed in the podcasting format. We really did. And we looked at what we had with the $100 MBA and thought we need something that's in alignment with this. And so again, we said no to clients. We put down everything else that we were doing, and we just really went to town with the $100 MBA show and recorded episodes. And, we recorded episode 1 about 10 times before we actually put up the final file that we wanted.
Really? 10 times?
Yeah, it just, that first episode, it was so important for us to get that show right, and we really had a vision for it, and so we just that's one of my things. I'm maybe a little bit too much of a perfectionist, but
I was just actually going to ask that. Who is the perfectionist between you and Omar? You already answered that, and I think on your website it says it's something like if it looks good and if it's beautiful, it looks good. It's Nicole's work. She's the one with all the taste.
Yeah, to my detriment. To my detriment, sometimes I have to sometimes just go. You know what? It's okay. It's fine as it is. But I guess we all have our own, quirks and idiosyncrasies. And for me, I am a little bit too much of a perfectionist.
I think it's not too bad, actually, because, the idea behind it is to put the best out there that's possible. The fact that you are able to hand over the editing to somebody else really proves that you're not, a bad perfectionist like some of us.
Right, thank you. I like that. I'm going to use that. That's really good, Nancy.
Because I'm struggling with that too, giving the editing over where, I'm thinking you're spending 4 hours or 5 hours. If you could just make better use of that time. But I'm like, I don't know if somebody's going to do it as well as I do, and are they going to remove the breathing and whatever. So I think that's really beautiful that you were able to hand that over. You're fine. That's I'm learning from you. That's good.
I won't tell you about the week that I had with my editor for the first week. I think he probably didn't want to work with me. No, Carl's amazing, and we have a great working relationship, so it's all good. I can give you some tips if you need.
Oh, maybe I will get back to you, really, because I'm really struggling with that, I'll be honest, where I'm thinking, it's been a year now, come on, Nancy, you can just give this to somebody else and use the time to do something different.
Yeah.
Back to the 100 MBA podcast. It was the best of 2014 iTunes. Forbes calls it Revolutionary Biz Training. I believe Inc. called it a must-listen Biz podcast. And even the Huffington Post, they said something like, Omar is changing business education. How is it for you, Nicole, as the woman behind the, I'll just use the cliche, behind every successful man is a beautiful, successful woman. How is it then as a partner? You guys are not just partners in business, but in life. What would you advise, somebody who is listening now and they're, behind the scenes and maybe they don't get acknowledged or people don't really talk so much about them? Like, for example, with you and Omar, you're a great team, but, maybe not all the time they mention Nicole.
It's a really great question. And I'm starting to, I have a lot of friends in the entrepreneurship space who are women who are, who do work with their partners. So this is an emerging kind of topic, and it is a great question. And you can answer it in so many ways. For me personally, I guess the way I've always seen it is that you have to leave the competition and the ego at the door. And I guess naturally I'm not a very competitive person. I'm actually really proud of what we've built together. I recognize, I see that, the accolades that Omar gets, he deserves 100%. And I'm very proud of the way that I contribute to the business and, the conversations that I get to have. I mean, I'm having a conversation with you right now. So I feel like it's not... I never feel like I'm not acknowledged. And I think in part that is to Omar's credit. He's great. I would never say that he would never recognize me, because he does. And that may not always happen. And I think I'm very fortunate in that sense, is that has that personality, has that character who's not just, very egotistical, and he shares and he praises where praise is due. So I don't ever feel like I'm left out. I mean, obviously at conference, you might feel sometimes at conferences that people don't, may not talk to you as much as someone else. But, it's also up to me. It's also up to me to not just expect that someone would come up and recognize me or say, or talk to me in particular over Omar. I have that responsibility as well to be more vocal, to put my hand up more. So yeah, for me, it hasn't really been a problem, but I do think that it is a really great conversation that I'm starting to get more involved in and talk more to my female, colleagues, and it's just a kind of an evolving discussion. Yeah.
You gave a great answer, and it is true that Omar does acknowledge you. I think even when I interviewed him, I believe last year, we had a chat on the podcast, and I recall that he acknowledged you and said it wouldn't be, or the show wouldn't be where it was if it wasn't for you, which is, like you said, it's brilliant that he acknowledges that. I mean, sometimes there are partners who don't really either they don't really see the need for it, or maybe they're not doing it on purpose, where their supporting partners behind are not acknowledged. And here's the interesting part, Nicole. Sometimes the partner is maybe not even doing the editing. They could just be moral support, or just giving very kind of passive kind of, ideas or suggestions. And, to build a dream, it takes a team. So That's why I'm also excited to have a chat with you. You mentioned something to put aside the competition and the ego. Let's look at it from this other side. There are a lot of people who have online businesses and their partners just don't get it, It's like maybe the business hasn't taken off and somebody's investing on another course and another coaching and they have to go to this webinar, and the other partner is like, why don't you just go and get a job, What would you advise somebody maybe who might be listening to the show and they're saying, wow, lucky for Nicole, they work in the same kind of business, her partner gets it. Do you have some advice for somebody who might have maybe a partner who is unsupportive, maybe because they don't understand, or they just think, when is this ever going to bring some money?
Yeah, gosh, that is a tough situation, and I can totally understand why that person would feel that way. And I do recognize that, in many ways, Omar and I are very fortunate to be on the same page in this situation. So I think sometimes what happens is that that this kind of side business, online business, it can be very nebulous. I think the conversations need to be very open. And I think what's happening is if one person's really working hard on something, they sometimes maybe don't have the time to explain or talk to their partner and say, look, this is what I see. This is what is a possibility. Have a look at these examples. This is what I feel that I could do and create one day. I think having really open, very clear conversations would probably be a good starting point, rather than just, oh, you don't understand me, because it can be really hard. There are obviously financial stresses. There are obviously, all sorts of other life stresses and life situations that get in the way. But I think having really open, transparent conversations and bringing that other person on side, like really showing that person that this is my action plan. These are the steps that I'm going to take. This is where I hope to be. Let's, see in 3 months if these things happen. And then, because for us in business, we may see the bigger picture, but we also see the small steps, the small wins. And those small wins sometimes are not a big deal to somebody else. But if you can show that person, look, if I can do this in a month's time, in 2 months' time, in 3 months, it could be something like, I have no subscribers to I have, 20 subscribers by the end of the month. That's a win, And if your partner can say, oh yeah, you said you were going to do that, and then you did that. It's like setting it, maybe even setting the bar really low so that they can see, like, okay, great, you do know what you're talking about. You do know you're on the path. Could help.
Okay, that's good. And maybe also explaining what is a subscriber and how does that help us, have some bread on the table.
Exactly. Yeah. See, there's just really, that's true. It has its own vocabulary, right? And we take it for granted. Yeah.
Exactly. Nicole, how do you guys separate between work and life? I mean, these two things kind of blend together as an entrepreneur. I mean, here I am at 10:30, and I'm having a blast, having this call, and it's not a problem for me. But how do you guys separate that? Because I think it can sometimes really spill over, especially if it's online, it can spill over to our private lives. How do you guys separate that?
I don't think we do separate.
Okay.
Well, that's not entirely true. But in a way, it is true. There is no separation because we are very, involved. And, what we do is really what we love. And so if you love what you do, of course, it's going to come into your conversations. So even when Omar and I, say even on vacation, so we do go on vacation, we will be talking about business. We will be having ideas. We will be brainstorming. We'll be problem solving, and those conversations aren't dull or boring to us. They're exciting. But that doesn't mean though that we can't, go off on some sort of activity. I don't know. It could be whatever, a hike in the forest or something, and we're talking about business. No, we'll still enjoy that moment. We'll still be able to not talk about work or the business. But it's kind of hard to separate it, and I don't know really if we would have it any other way right now, especially when you're in a growth stage, and we've seen a lot of growth this past year. Definitely we've recognized when we need a break and we need a vacation, and we do that. We do set boundaries. We traveled in June of this year, and we said that we would only check emails in the morning and make sure that our team is okay because our team is remote. We committed to that, and it worked out really great. So, over breakfast, we checked in with our team. We checked any issues that had occurred from the day before. We sorted all that out. And, by 10:30, 11 a.m. that day, we were ready to set off and enjoy the day. And we had a blast. We really did relax. We came back really recharged. So sometimes, we do need to set boundaries, especially if we're going on vacation, or like now we're in Australia and we're spending time with my family. But in general, on a day-to-day basis, this is our life, and this is the life we've chosen, and this is great for us right now. So, it's just a part of what we do.
Great. The more I'm listening to you, the more I think you're a good perfectionist, because that's the other side, being able to hand over. I think once I listened to Omar talking about on the podcast, it was about exactly that, when you go on holiday, what to do. And like you said, you guys check in the email and you let the team take care. I think he said something that really helped me, where he said, if the team comes with a problem, have them first find a solution, and give it back to them and let them own the problem, also find a solution. And that was really helpful because, some of us, or let me speak for myself, as a perfectionist, or maybe a bit of a control freak as far as business is concerned, I want to take care of everything. And that is obviously, there's no freedom in that. So that's a good answer. Thanks for sharing that. Obviously, you guys have a freedom, a location-independent business, which is the dream of most internet entrepreneurs. Would you say there are any pros and cons? Cons, actually. What is the other side of having like a location-independent business?
I think so. The first time we came to Australia a few years ago, we had a bit more of a harder time setting up our office space, setting up the internet. Like, there were certain things that was like, oh, why is it so slow here? What's going on? Australia Sydney's amazing. Like, what's happening? So there can be challenges, obviously, in setting up. This time around, it's been super easy. We found a great co-working space. The internet was already connected at the place we were staying, so that wasn't a problem. I think just maybe changing your rhythms, changing your routines. Like, obviously, the times that we check in with our team now are completely different. Like in San Diego, which is where we're based most of the time, we're checking in at night. So our evening, 6 to 10 p.m. is when they start. Whereas here in Sydney, we're actually ahead. They're starting at lunchtime, our time. So I can get my, some stuff done in the morning before the team starts. And then we can check in with them there. So, you're definitely like a disruption to a rhythm, a routine. That is probably, one of the downsides that I can think of. But otherwise, I feel it's pretty amazing that we can come to the other side of the world. And, for me, a great concern as a producer was to find a space for Omar to record. We'd set up our recording studio in San Diego. I was really happy with the quality, with the sound. And then for me, when I know that we're going to be moving, I'm very worried that the quality of the show is going to suffer if he doesn't find a space that's suitable. So kind of that little bit of nervousness there. And then we got really lucky with the co-working space that we're working at. There was a little recording booth. But again, the environment changes. So, I had to tell my editor that the space has changed, and he had to make adjustments, and there was a bit of a back and forth there. Because again, I have to make sure the sound's great. Otherwise, I'm not happy.
Yeah, you do a great job, you guys. Okay. So you would say maybe the technical side of it would be one of the biggest challenges. Did I understand you right?
Yeah, technical, and just switching to time, like different time zones. If you're managing a team, or, the normal time that you would wake up and do things might have to change. Your morning routine might change because you're now in a different time zone.
That's a problem I could live with, I mean, if you get to be, to be with the family or to be elsewhere and still the business is running, then I think those two things are not such a big deal. Well, at least for me personally, I wouldn't say it's such a big deal. Okay, Nicole, what is your favorite business building strategy and why?
Oh, gosh. Favorite business building strategy. I think what we've done is that we've grown slowly and we've bootstrapped. That can be very tough, I mean, we're in a space right now, a co-working space that has a lot of fun startups and startups that are looking for funding. And, that might be, kind of a hot topic, and it might be the way that people see that business the way that businesses should grow and be built is through with a lot of capital and funding. But for us, we went a very different route. We bootstrapped our business. It was just us. And we purposely did that knowing that we would grow slowly. And so, if I think back that in 2014, at the end of 2014, we were still just a team of 2. And, and fast forward now, just over a year later, we're a team of 12. That kind of shows you. I say that not to brag, but I say that very proudly because it's tough. It's not easy, of course, when you are doing everything yourself and you're stretched very thin. But as long as that's your strategy, and for us, it really was a very clear-cut strategy. We will just purposely not try and be patient. It's very hard as an entrepreneur. You want things to happen really quickly, but things do take time, and learning that patience is really important. So just having that strategy of okay, this is a slow growth. We will grow our team very slowly and grow our team very carefully as well. That's probably my tied number 1. Number 2, because if you don't have the right people around you, your business is not going to grow well, and part of the hiring process of all these people last year was to really vet and find the right people to grow our team. And, we're in a very fortunate place right now where we love our team so much. They're so good. But it took a while to get there, It wasn't just, in 1 month, let's put up a job ad and just let's hire 10 people. No, it happened really slowly. One person, then another person, then another person. So that for me would be my favorite.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love the way you said the slow growth strategy, because if you have the foundation, even if you guys were just 2 of you for a while and then you build it from there, then it's bound to have a long-term growth, sustainable growth actually is the word I was looking for. Yeah. Oh, that's really good. And sometimes, like you said, we want things to happen like yesterday, and then this sudden explosion of growth can actually be a downfall, I think, for some businesses. If one is not prepared for the growth and it kind of catches you off guard, and then you're like, oh, things can be a little bit tricky, I think.
Yeah, and definitely, I'm not saying that, you're going to have the skills to do everything. Obviously, you can't do everything, but I think, if my editor is sick one day, if my customer support person, is out for a week or something, I would be able to pick up the slack. And that is something that, as best as you can, you should be able to know the tasks really well. You should be able to obviously know what you're delegating really well, because that, like you said, it can fall apart very, very quickly if you've hired all these people and, they're supporting the business and all of a sudden they leave or if things don't work out, then all of a sudden you're left with huge problems because you can't fix things yourself, you can't take on the tasks yourself. So it's that delicate balance and I think through slow growth, the ins and outs of your business very, very well before you hand everything over.
Before you hand the reins over.
Yeah.
Okay. Lovely. When is the wedding, if I may ask, Nicole?
Oh, sure. So it's next month in January 17th.
Exciting.
Yeah, we're excited. I mean, it's going to be a very small, intimate affair here in Australia, obviously, because, part of one of the downsides of living overseas and moving around, I've moved around a lot in the years, is that my friends are kind of scattered all over the world. So I've done a fair bit of traveling. So it's kind of that bittersweetness, where you have friends in different places, but for an occasion like this where you want everybody there to share, the moment, they're there in spirit.
In spirit. I like that. But we'll be happy to ooh and ah about the photos and the wedding dress. We'll be there in spirit and we'll also be there virtually.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so sweet.
Okay, lovely. As we're coming to the end of our call, what is something that you wish you would have known maybe before you went into business?
Oh gosh, there's so many things. I think sometimes you don't believe. Like I remember when I taught myself to edit videos, I thought that was a struggle. Wow, now I can do that, And then I would get really frustrated at the beginning when I was editing the show because I was, teaching myself how to do it and spending a lot of time, perfecting it. I think just this is going to sound just so lame, but I always thought, I don't have the ability to do that, But it's amazing how many things you can learn, and you can learn in the moment. I think it's called just-in-time learning. You always think that knowledge has to be spread over years of experience and accumulation of time, but I think you can learn things really, really quickly, and just to trust yourself that, all right, this is what I need to learn right now. I'm just going to be patient with myself. I'm going to give myself, a little bit of time and a little bit of grace to allow myself to just learn what it is that I have to do, just the 20% that makes up the 80% of the task, which is really sometimes all it is, and just fly with it rather than getting like frustrated and burning energy that way. So, because there's been a lot of things that I've just learned and picked up just through, just because I had to. And in the beginning, it's like, I can't do that. That's not me. I don't have that experience. You always you compare yourself to other people in the space, and definitely the comparison game. I would say that's a huge thing that I wish I did not spend time doing. I mean, in the beginning, when I didn't feel like, that I had the confidence or the ability to be a co-founder, I would look at other people and just think, I don't have that, I don't have this. And then it's just like, that's such a waste of time because it gets you nowhere. And then you end up surprising yourself. So playing the comparison game is just something that, I learned to let go of pretty quickly, actually.
If I understood correctly, let me know if I understood you correctly. It's like we sometimes underestimate ourselves, maybe when we're, the beginning of any business or setting up anything. Did I understand you right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. You did.
And what you said now is with the comparison, that is so true, especially the online world where, obviously in a brick and mortar store, we can't go into somebody's back office and look at their books and look at how much money they made today. But the danger of the online business is you can look at the communities and look at their websites and it can get dangerous because, like you said, we could be comparing ourselves to somebody who is in chapter 20 and we're in chapter 2. And obviously there's going to be a difference,
Yeah, I just think the best thing you could do is, obviously in a space like this, you want to differentiate yourself. And so by looking at other people, by seeing how it's done, I guess the way I kind of sidestepped that was I don't have time. I had to learn, I didn't have time to go and how should a video lesson for the $100 VA look like? I just thought, well, what do I like? What do I want it to look like? And then that just saved me so much time because I just got to work and I produced the videos and lo and behold, everyone's like, okay, they look great, fantastic. If I spent time researching and checking out every other platform out there and the way their videos are edited and produced, I would have just wasted so much time and not got that done. And the same thing with the show, if I sat there and listened to every single show out there and, my show, should our intro be like this? Should it go like that? What should the edit points be like this? That is such a waste of time. As soon as you just realize, do it the way you like to do it the way that feels authentic to you, then you actually get on with the work rather than spend time, looking at everybody else, which doesn't serve you in the end because you don't want to look like everybody else. It has to be you. Otherwise, people are not going to resonate.
Great. Okay. Wrapping up, WebinarNinja, let's talk very shortly about that. You guys have this software which is brilliant. I've been on a couple of your webinars. Tell us, why do we people online space need to be doing webinars?
Yeah, webinars are an amazing way to, there's nothing that converts like a webinar. You can build trust. Podcasts are great. It's very intimate. You're in somebody's ear. But the fact that people are signing up to webinars because they want to see you, they want to hear from you, they want to learn from you, it's the closest thing to an in-person event, and we know that when you're in the space, when you share the space with someone, you really get to know them and you really get to build trust. And we found that with webinars, And it really is the reason why they're so popular, is because you can give so much to people in like around the world. It's amazing how you can just reach so many people, and they can benefit from something you're teaching them, some advice you're giving, whatever it is that you want to share with them. They can take that away and go, wow, I love this person. I just learnt this. They just helped me out with the huge problem that I'm having. I trust this person. I want to sign up for the next one. And as you continue to build that relationship with that person that's attended your webinar, that they'll then, maybe subscribe to your email list because they want to further that relationship. The possibilities are endless because they've built that trust, and nothing does that like a webinar. It's amazing. It's a very powerful way to connect with people in a really authentic way. You can just be yourself. You can be on camera. You can be, you can teach, and people just get that opportunity to learn from you and benefit from you.
I guess some people are listening and thinking, okay, so how do I do a webinar, and what is, maybe some don't even know what is a webinar or how to go about it. I mean, technology can be pretty challenging. There's so many things to learn, like you said, and sometimes we really just need to shorten that learning curve. So would you like to tell us how you and Omar, how you can help us? Some of us are wanting to start doing webinars. We've attended so many, and we're thinking, okay, where do I start? Google Hangouts or this or the other? Can you help us out with that? Can you shorten our learning curve?
Well, yeah. I mean, look, obviously because Omar and I have come from that education background, that is really the foundation of anything that we put out there. And the same thing with WebinarNinja. We know that it can be difficult, and there are a lot of moving parts with webinars, but really what we've found is that as soon as somebody does their first webinar, it's like, the gates have opened. That's it. I'm on to the next one as fast as I can. It's just getting that first one out of the way. So we really focused on creating the platform to make it as easy as possible for you to set up that webinar. So we've got tutorials, we've got, guides and all of that to help you really step by step, because the software obviously allows you to build the webinar, to build all the registration pages, the thank you pages and all the different pages, and then eventually host the webinar, and then send out all your replay emails and all of that. So we've tried to really make that as streamlined and as easy as possible, because we know that is a struggle for people. And then the other side to WebinarNinja is that, again, coming from an education background, we really believe that, the community is there to support people doing their first webinar, or people sharing ideas. I think you even jumped in there and asked, a really great question about how long webinars should be. I think there was a whole conversation going, which is it's a great question. It's something that's maybe to somebody is a small detail, but the fact that you're able to throw that out there, how long should a typical webinar be? And then you get people jumping in and saying, well, this is how long I do my webinars for, and sharing ideas. I think that community aspect is critical as well. So, we've really tried and succeeded in that sense of creating a software that's easy to create your webinars, and then have that community around you to make sure that, you have a really successful webinar, and that you know what you're doing when you start a webinar.
Great. And having attended the 100 MBA, I can only imagine the WebinarNinja is just as good, if not even better. You guys put out some really good stuff out there. I mean, I appreciate what you guys do. I'll be just straight up,
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we are at the end of our conversation today. At the end of every episode, Nicole, I normally have something I call the EAT tips, and EAT simply stands for IAT. That's inspiration plus some action results in some transformations. We're inspired by the conversation we've had with you. And what can you advise us? What action can we take to grow our online businesses, or to see some transformation in our online businesses?
I think one of the things we haven't talked about is the relationships that we can build, and how important relationships are. And for me, it's a very important point, because I've also, been, living in the States, coming back to Australia. Like what I've found now coming back here is making friends and connections with the entrepreneurs here in Sydney, which many people I didn't even know existed. So I think one of the things that we need, when we're building our business, we tend to get a little bit insular. We tend to just be head down, focused on what we need and what we need to do right now. But I think always having the idea that any business is going to be of service to someone. And so I think you've always got to factor into your day that you have some sort of connection, contact with someone that you can help. And I think that's one of the most important things, because otherwise you end up looking very inward, and it ends up being just about about you, and business should never be just about you. It can't be just about you. You know, it has to be about who you can help and who you can serve. So I think making it a daily point of reaching out to someone, whether it's on social media, and, you know, genuinely because you're interested, because you care. Otherwise, if you don't, you know, you're in the wrong business, basically. So I think every day making sure that you've had some sort of contact, connection with someone that you want to get to know or someone that you can help in some way, making that a part of your daily routine.
Love it. Thank you. That's a great tip. When it's all said and done, it's really about relationships, isn't it?
Right, yeah. I think that's one of the things that I learned in the beginning that really surprised me. I think we think that business is like this, you know, the mystery of business. It's about these big companies that are just very self-serving. And then when you get into it, you realize, no, that's not what it's about. It's about helping people. It's about serving people. It's about giving value. Otherwise, you really are in the wrong business.
Oh, love it. And as you said, business has to be about serving people because, let's be honest, people don't do business with companies per se. They do business with other people who are in those companies. Great. That's a great tip. Thank you, Nicole. Well, we're at the end of our interview. I'd really love to wish you, first of all, a great stay with your family in Australia. And the wedding. Ooh, I'm looking forward to the wedding dress.
You might be a little bit surprised there, but yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
We're definitely going non-traditional. That's all I'll say right now.
Oh, that sounds exciting.
Nancy, thank you so much. I love what you're doing, and you're such an amazing member of our community. You know, we just love having you, and I love, you know, your show, and I love what you're doing. And it was a real honor to be on your show. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Also appreciate your time. God bless, and catch up on the interweb.
Okay, bye.
For more inspiration and the resources mentioned today, visit www.dyspodcast.com.